welcome back to my channel. My name is Brianna. So today's going to be how to use macOS for beginners. I've gotten a lot of requests for this video in my comments. I currently have a 2020 MacBook Pro 13-inch. I've had a MacBook for about 5 years now, so I definitely know that it can be kind of confusing whenever you're switching from Windows to Mac. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys and just go through some of the basics and the most common things that you guys need to know, as well as a few keyboard shortcuts to help you with your experience. So if you want to see that, then just keep watching. Okay, so the first thing is whenever you're setting up your MacBook, you will have to sign in using an Apple ID. If you have an iPhone, then you can just use that same one. If you want everything to be connected, if you've never used Apple before, you can just quickly make one up using your email and create a password. So after that, you will be prompted for some other things like Wi-Fi, put your country in, and some other just quick information, and then you will be logged into your MacBook. Okay, so the first thing I want to just go through is the Apple symbol on the top left corner of your MacBook. So if you click the Apple, then click About This Mac. This is where you can find all the information about your model and the configurations you got. So on mine, I can see that I have a 13-inch 2020, the one with 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports. You can see info about the processor, the memory, the graphics, and your serial number here. All that information is going to be here. You can also, this is where you'll do software updates. So every couple of weeks, couple months, there may be a new update, so you can just do that all through here. If you click on storage, this is where you can see all of the storage on your MacBook, the things that are taking up the most amount of storage. And if you click manage, then that's where you can go through and delete any files if you're running low on storage. I got 512 gigabytes of storage, and the base model for the 2020 MacBook Air and Pro is 256. For most people, 256 should be good, but if you just want to have that extra bit of comfort, just to know that you're not going to run out, I would say go with 512. So here you can see all of your storage, and then if you click manage, you can go through and see any areas that you might want to clear up. I can also see here that the system itself for me takes up 11.112 gigabytes, so keep that in mind that however much you get, it's actually going to be a little bit less just because the actual macOS system takes up a little bit of storage. If you click on support, you can also access the manual and get other help if you need assistance doing anything on your MacBook. And then service is where you will see if you got AppleCare. I personally did not get AppleCare, but if you had that, that's where you can access that. So going back to the Apple, system preferences will take you to your settings. You can also just access your settings on the dock, and we'll talk about the dock a little bit later. You can also click on the Apple to access the App Store, and then this is where you will be able to put your computer to sleep, shut it down, restart it, lock your screen, or log out. So that's all found under the Apple symbol in the top left corner. Okay, so next let's talk about Finder. So Finder is where you can find everything on your MacBook. And so I think the default whenever you set your MacBook up, if you look on your dock, it's that symbol on the far left. It's kind of like a blue and white smiley face. And so if you click on here, this is where you can see all of your applications, your documents, your downloads, all that stuff is going to be in Finder. You can organize them into folders and all of that stuff. There's also a section for AirDrop if you want to send files, and so Finder is where you can find everything. There's a search bar for you to search documents if it's your resume or whatever it may be. Finder is that key place for all the things on your MacBook. Okay, so next is the Launchpad. So if you look on your dock, it's that symbol that's kind of like a rocket, and that's going to be your Launchpad. This is basically all of your applications. You can see the App Store, your iMessage, Maps, anything that you downloaded like Final Cut Pro, iMovie, all that stuff is going to be in your Launchpad. And this is just an overview of all the applications on your laptop. You can also organize them, change the order, delete them, and do all of that. So that's your Launchpad. Next is the dock. So the dock is on your main desktop screen. It's usually whenever you first get onto your MacBook at the bottom of your screen, and that's just all of the main apps that you use every single day. And so by default, Apple will have things like Maps, Apple Calendar, Notes, iTunes, Podcasts, and just their typical apps on there, but you can adjust them and rearrange them to whatever you like. For me, I usually have my Gmail application because I use that every single day. Also my Photoshop and my Lightroom. Usually I'll also have Final Cut Pro on there, but I'm doing something with that. And so this dock is basically all the ones that you mainly use. If you hold them down, you can drag them and move them to wherever you want. You can also right click option and you can remove them or just have different options for that. If you want to change your dock, so if you guys look at my dock, it disappears, and then when I hover my mouse at the bottom of the screen, it pops back up. So if you go into your system preferences or just your settings, you'll see here there's a section for the dock, and that's where you can mess with all the different things. You can change the size if you want it at the bottom of the screen, the left or the right, and then you can also, if you go to the effect, minimize windows using. Mine that I have on is the genie effect, and so whenever I'm not using my dock or not hovering my mouse over it, the dock disappears, and then whenever I need to pull something up, I just slide my mouse down and you'll see it rise back up. You can also change that, and then this is just where you can mess with everything as far as your dock goes. Your dock is super important because it's just a quick way to access things you use every single day, so you want to have your most commonly used applications and all that stuff right at the bottom or wherever you place your dock. And let me just show you guys some of these settings. So you can make your dock applications larger, you can make it smaller. I have mine like right in the middle. And then magnification, you can change that. You can put it on the left side, on the right side, so you can kind of just put it wherever you prefer it. I usually just keep it at the bottom because that's the most comfortable for me. Okay, so next is the trackpad, which is basically just your mouse. So if you go into settings, you'll see a section for trackpad, and here's where you can adjust what your trackpad does and some of the different gestures that you can use. So for me, the first thing I do whenever I get a new MacBook is I go into the point and click section, and under tap to click, I check that, which basically just means instead of actually having to click my trackpad, I can just tap it with my finger and that will click whatever I'm trying to click. You can also check the box for secondary click and choose wherever you want that. And so for me, I have my secondary click is the bottom right corner. So normally on a typical mouse, the left side of the mouse that you click is clicking on something, and the right side is to pull up options like copy, paste, and all that stuff. And so I have that setting checked, and so whenever I click the bottom right corner of my trackpad, that will just pull up that extra menu. You can also just go through and adjust your different settings. So the typical ones that Mac comes with, you'll see that to zoom in or out, you just pinch your trackpad. There's a couple of other different gestures, but the most frequently used ones that I do is to zoom. So let me pull up a tab and show you guys. So here in my Google Doc, if I just pinch my screen, you can zoom in, pinch it out, you can zoom out. And another common one, if you go over in settings to more gestures, are different things to switch between applications. So if I have two different apps open, if I have 3 fingers on my trackpad and swipe, it will slide over to a different app. So let me pull up a different application and show you guys that. Okay, so you have to have the apps maximized, but here you can see I'm on Lightroom, then I take 3 fingers and swipe over, and it takes me back to Photoshop, so that's a pretty common one that I use. You can play around with these settings and just pick whatever you prefer. Okay, so here are some keyboard shortcuts that really will save you some time. So if you pick Command C, that is to copy, so I'll do that. Command C, it copies it, and then Command V is paste. Command Z is undo. I use these 3 the most often. If you have an app open and you want to quit it, you just push Command Q. To close a window, like let's say I open up another tab on Google Chrome, Command W will close that window. If you want to screenshot, it's Shift Command 4, and you can select the area you want to screenshot. If you want to take a screenshot of the entire screen, you do Shift Command 3. If you're editing in iMovie or Final Cut Pro and you want to slice or cut a clip, you just do Command B. And if you're ever on an application, like usually it might be Final Cut Pro or something like that, that it's just not responding, it's frozen, it's not working, if you do Option Command Escape, you'll be able to force quit any applications that just aren't working. So those are the most common ones that I use. If you ever just want to see if there's any more keyboard shortcuts, you can just Google Mac keyboard shortcuts and see whatever other ones there are, but those are the ones that I use most often. Okay, so next is iMovie. iMovie comes free whenever you buy a MacBook. It's already on there. It is the simple form of Final Cut Pro, basically the free version. And so when I first started my YouTube channel, I bought a MacBook and I did use iMovie because I did not really know how to edit. And so it's a good first place to start whenever you're just getting started on your channel, and it comes free, so it's definitely a great resource to use if you have a MacBook. Okay, so now I'm just going to quickly go through some of the different Apple applications that come on the MacBook. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, you're probably familiar with most of these, but if you've never had an Apple product before, let me just give you the quick rundown of these different apps and what they do. Okay, so first you have App Store. That is where you download apps. Safari is Apple's browsing system. Mail is Apple's mail system. I actually prefer to just go on Google Chrome and use Gmail, but if you prefer that, you can also just log into your Gmail using Apple's Mail app. Contacts has all of your contacts from your phone if you use the same Apple ID. Calendar is just Apple's calendar. Reminders is where you can just create quick checklists or to-do list. Notes is just your Apple Notes, and if you sync it to your phone, all of these things will be the same from your phone to your MacBook to your iPad or whatever else you have. FaceTime is self-explanatory. Messages, so if you do choose to connect your iMessage, you'll be able to respond to text messages on here. I have that currently loaded, but once I start using this for work, I might take that off, but you can just quickly respond to messages through Wi-Fi. Maps is the Apple Maps. Find My is where you can find any of your lost Apple devices. So Find My iPhone, Find My iPad, all that stuff is through there. Photo Booth I actually have never used, but if you want to just take fun photos with filters, you can do that. Photos is Apple's photo system. If you turn on your photo stream, it will automatically sync all of the photos from your phone to there. I actually don't use iCloud Photos. I prefer Google Photos, and so I don't ever use the application. Preview is the app that will pull up any photos to look at them. Then you have Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Apple TV. Voice memos is just to quickly record yourself talking or any type of audio. iMovie is to edit videos. So Numbers is Apple's system for spreadsheets. Keynote is to make presentations like PowerPoints and stuff. Pages is their system for typing documents, but it does not transfer well, so I actually prefer to just use Microsoft Word, which I actually don't have on here currently, but if you go to college, most colleges offer free Microsoft Office, so you should definitely take advantage of that. I instead will use Google Docs and then download them as a Word doc because Pages kind of just messes up the system, not the system. Pages doesn't really correspond well if you're submitting documents for class or school and stuff like that. Apple News is the news. You have stocks, books, a dictionary, calculator, and then Home. I don't really use that often. I think it's just for different, like if you have smart stuff around your home, but I don't ever use that one. You have Siri. Mission Control I don't really use, but that's just if you have like multiple pages open to be able to see all of those. System Preferences is settings, and then in other has a bunch of random stuff that I honestly don't really use except for the one that I'm using now to screen record is called Screenshot. Is where you can video record what you're doing on your screen. There's other stuff on here to monitor all the other things on your MacBook. I honestly don't mess with these ever. And then other things that come on the Mac are Time Machine is to back up all of your MacBook. I used to do this, but don't want to do this anymore. Font Book is all of your different fonts, and it comes with chess. I've never played chess on here before. Stickies are sticky notes, so if you want to create quick reminders, which you can put on your desktop, change the font sizes, colors, and just put quick reminders on there, you can use that. And that's pretty much it for the ones that come on the MacBook. Also, QuickTime Player is just to play videos. Okay, so lastly, I'm just going to share some quick other things that are just generally good to know when it comes to MacBooks. So if you go to System Preferences, go to General. Here at the top under Appearance, you can see Light, Dark, and Auto mode. So if you have an iPhone, you know what that is, but dark mode is just where everything turns dark, and light mode is just normal light, bright settings. Auto mode means that whenever the sun is up, it'll be in light mode, and then at nighttime it goes into dark mode, and that's what I usually have it on is auto. Also, if you go back to System Preferences and go to Displays, and then Night Shift. So night shift is where at nighttime your screen turns warmer. So Electronics, MacBooks, laptops emit a lot of blue light. At nighttime, whenever you're trying to go to sleep, it's not good for you to be staring at a lot of blue light because it makes you not want to go to sleep. And so you can turn on night shift and choose when you want that to activate. You can do custom or sunset to sunrise. So I have sunset to sunrise, which means whenever it's getting dark and the sun is setting, it automatically turns warm. You can adjust how warm you want your screen to get. Mine is kind of a little bit under the halfway point towards the less warm side, and so at nighttime my laptop will automatically shift to that color to just be more gentle on my eyes. It's super helpful because it's not good to stare at a computer right before you go to bed. So if you go to System Preferences and go to General, under accent color is where you can change the accent color, which is basically like when you highlight stuff and the color that shows up on different windows. The default is blue, but you can change it to purple, pink, red, orange, yellow, green, or gray. So let's change it to pink, and you'll see that everything that is the accent colors turns pink. If I pull up something, let's just pull up Google. And you can see that whenever I highlight my URL, it turns pink. So that's just the accent color is something that you can change. So the last thing that's really cool about having a MacBook is AirDrop. So between different devices like an iPad or an iPhone in the MacBook, you can quickly send videos, photos, files, documents through AirDrop. It's so quick and easy. And so if I do from my phone to my MacBook, it will automatically pop up in downloads. I can also do this vice versa. If you're a content creator, it's super quick and easy to share a quick IG video to your phone or just anything you're trying to share, also to other people that have Apple devices. Okay, so those are my tips for beginners, just some quick things to know about your MacBook. Overall, it will definitely take some time to get used to, and the more you play around with it, the more you'll learn how to do. If you ever have any questions, we have Google at the fingertips of our hands. You can Google stuff, look up on YouTube, and also you can check out the Mac manual. So if you go to About This Mac, go to Support, here you can see User Manual, and so it will take you to Apple's website, and it has literally everything about your MacBook, tips to get started, ways to sync your things, applications, features, all of that stuff. And so I'll link that down below, but you can also definitely always just comment down below if you have any questions. I'll get back to you guys as soon as possible. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I will catch you in my next one. Make sure that you are subscribed down below. I now upload new videos every Sunday and Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Time. Thank you guys again. I'll catch you in my next video. Bye y'all.